Gen X Comed at Life Info Liz, and let's see, it's August 5th, I think. Maybe 6th. So while I don't remember the precise date, I know the day is Wednesday, and I've been, of course, scrolling the headlines thinking that I should make another video on some of the dumbassery. And at first I thought I was going to talk about the legal way in which the Texas Democrats are using a political technique to not allow for quorum to be established to a vote to take place for racial gerrymandering in the middle of a census cycle, which it came directly at the behest of the rapist in chief who ordered Abbott, who doesn't realize he's just being used because he has a disability and thinks the same way. Because it's like bonus points if you think like a fascist and you have a disability or you're a person of color, which is how Candace Owens got wrapped up on all this. I don't know if you know that, Chica, but sorry. It's for real. But I settled on vaccines. Vaccines is going to be the topic today, specifically mRNA vaccines. Hope to clear up some bullshittery. So, I don't have props. Like, I do have small white. And you know what? I need to get expo markers for this impromptu teachable moment. So this is what because I just sat there and I read this post from a friend of mine who is stuck in Florida because of grandchildren. And kind of similar to how I don't necessarily feel stuck. I really love North Carolina, honestly. I think it's an amazing state. But the decision was to be stuck here. And had it not been a beautiful state, I don't know if I could have made that decision. But that wasn't the situation. For my future grandchildren, I don't even have. Which, and the funniest thing is, like, I never ever wanted to be a parent. And here I am trying to find my way in a new, brave new world direction for myself as this whole country determines how not just us as Americans but the world. This is how we're impacting the world negatively. Like all the way around negatively. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about was this, like, one of these infographics that I made that I've added to the Trump circle of this concept map, and go more in depth on my ideas about the players, pull at the puppet strings of Trump, because Trump is not a smart man, y'all. Those of you who thought he was smart, I hate to break it to you, but it's possible you're suffering from a phenomenon called Dunning-Kruger, whereby the perception of your abilities in this world are greatly at odds with reality. I hate to break that to you. But back to vaccines. Vaccines. It was an American who discovered vaccines. Testing first on his child, Jonas Salk. These were live vaccines. No, he noticed that the milkmaids didn't fall prey to smallpox, and smallpox was pretty disastrous back in the day. Those pictures are horrific. I can conjure them in my mind because I've seen them. I have a mind that works like that on things that stick to me, and a lot of things stick to me, incidentally. So, vaccines. Moving forward. Jonas Salk tested on his kid, and it worked. And then he spread the news. Over time, we learned how to denature the live virus through science, and started, giving, a heat killed or somehow manipulated viral form. And mRNA is the newest novelty. Now, here's one of the biggest misconception about mRNA. Y'all, I'm 50 years old. When I first started teaching, and I was just like, I've always just been a real curious person, and I just kind of got directed into a life that I had not planned for myself. And so I started looking for ways to just kind of feed my curiosity about the things that I was learning, because I started teaching things that I knew, marine biology and environmental science, from my training, but then was selected and moved into biology, and there was a lot there, even though I'm a biologist. And at that point, I had gotten a master's degree in biology, but there was still so much not to know. And here's a case in point. It was really kind of cool because I told some people at the dog park the other day I was a biologist, and the one guy was Japanese, and he goes, "Forgive me if this is rude, but what does a biologist do?" And that was a good question. I said, well, I started off life as a marine biologist, but then I ended up teaching for a long time, advanced biology. And so I tell you that to kind of establish my understanding of biology, and that I have somewhat of an expertise to talk on the subject. But so this another colleague that some years later I was selected among, I don't know, maybe there were 15 of us. I don't really remember. A fellowship to study for a summer at Princeton University. And so this is where I met this woman who's trapped in Florida, who posted today about Kennedy's recent cutting of funding to mRNA vaccines. So back in the day, I was doing mRNA. We've been doing this kind of research. It didn't just come out of their asses, y'all. Okay? This is shit that's been in the pipeline and theorized and tested, and so they were prepped and ready because of all the R&D that led up to that moment in time when a novel coronavirus, however way it came from China, y'all. And it was an international effort. The Pfizer-BioNTech was an international effort, that mRNA, and then others follow suit. And so let's just talk about what that is. So what they did. Talk about what they did. So first off, early January 2019, Chinese scientists posted the novel coronavirus. They raised the alarm bells in the scientific community. I know this because I was in China as a biologist teaching biology with my family. So I was pretty clued onto the timeline. Okay. And honestly, I'm pretty sure it was spreading before that. But I can't be sure because my son, that Thanksgiving before, I mean, it obviously was spreading, but he, I think it came into our house the earliest strain, and he was the only one that got real sick because the rest of us didn't go on that plane to play rugby in Beijing. And he was so sick he couldn't even have what was to be his final Thanksgiving. Didn't turn out to be his final Thanksgiving because of COVID. But what we thought was going to be his final Thanksgiving with us in his senior year in Shanghai, China. So I was pretty clued in to pretty much everything about the timelines and as it relates to biology. So China was working on their vaccine. So I want to talk about their vaccine first before I talk about what an mRNA vaccine is. And so China's very good at learning lessons and then streamlining and being efficient with applying those lessons. I think that's just somewhere they excel. And with their trade partnership being the way that it was with Brazil, and with the way in which the virus is spreading through Brazil, they made the decision to offer, coerce, I don't know. Like, that was the trial. And there were lots of people in their trial. And the efficacy of that tried and true traditional method of making a vaccine, in the ways that we've made, pretty much all the other ones to date, which has, like, all the complaints that people had about vaccine, which, by the way, dear God, y'all, some quack doctor posted a false study, and then it got embedded in the community that vaccines cause autism. It does not. And autism, y'all, is not a disease. And just because we're diagnosing it more now doesn't mean that it never existed, because, like, it comes in a lot of forms, and it's irrelevant. It's not related to their IQ level. They're just trying to talk about vaccines today. It doesn't cause autism, y'all. And also, autism's kind of a superpower. Just saying. Anyway, so back to vaccines. And so their efficacy was okay. Now, I was stuck in China. I didn't have a choice. I definitely wanted the mRNA, and there was some rumors when I was there, like, because we were highly in touch with our consulate, and all of our embassy-related people and families in our school, our consulate-related people, they did get, and then there was some talk of the American Chamber of Commerce getting us the Pfizer, but it wasn't firmed up when the Chinese government didn't offer. I should take that back. If we were going to go back into classroom face-to-face, we all needed to be vaccinated. It was kind of the line, I guess. Now, our school, so at first, though, it wasn't that, because the rules changed. It was changing. It was kind of like what's happening right now in this crisis. Things change day to day. And never fear, I'm still going to mention Epstein before I finish this, even though it's not related to vaccines, because we can't take our eyes off that, y'all. President's a rapist and a child fucker. Burn them all down. Thanks. Okay, so back to the vaccines. So mRNA, which is technology that had been decades in the work. And I'm not going to get into, like, we've been in the age of biology that so much has changed in molecular biology, and it is amazing. But what happens is it stokes fear in people, and in many cases they just don't understand the process of science. They don't understand how it builds on each other. They don't understand how it self-regulates. Yeah, there are people who've tried to worm their way into the system, but they get fucked and get out and get humiliated. That's just how it works. Not so with politics. I mean, I think maybe politics should take lessons from the scientific community. Get the fucking emotion out of it. Look at get to brass tacks. Look at the facts. Real facts. But that's just my 2 cents. What do I know? mRNA virus. mRNA vaccine. Okay, so first we got to talk about why a virus isn't considered alive is because it's not a self-replicating machine. It has to hijack a host. And it does that because of our universal language that encodes all of living things. It's the same molecular toolbox of mRNA, DNA, adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine. Maybe you remember that from biology? I don't know. Probably not. I bet you remember that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? And you wonder why I had to leave my career. No. Going back to mRNA. All right, so mRNA. M stands for messenger. It's carrying a message. So the DNA is so valuable, it has to stay inside the nucleus, inside each of your cells. And each of your cells have all of the exact same DNA. Now, in my fingertip cell, the DNA that turns on that says fingertip is a little bit different from the DNA that is in my hair that says be hair. Okay, so the genes get expressed or they get repressed. And the repression can happen from the environment. Trauma can, anyway, that's a whole nother, epigenetics is a whole nother yet to really be discovered, and it's going to be discovered in other parts of the world because we're cutting off research funding by fucking billionaire people who want to rape children and live in a whole other alternate golden reality of some sort of gilded bullshit age. And I honestly, excuse me as I ground myself. Okay. Finish this video. Sticking to the thread, Shauna, of vaccines. So, what the scientists did is they've isolated only a protein on the surface of the coronavirus, okay, with no molecular information that could even be considered to be replicated, right? Because they denatured the DNA, they do their things. I don't want to get into the old vaccine because mRNA is actually the way of the freaking future of vaccines. You guys are such idiots. Okay, sorry. Because of its precision. So so how a virus gets into your host cell to hijack it and make you sick, which sucks. It has these little proteins, and it just kind of comes up to the cell, and it just like forces the key in. Yeah, I'm Jimmy in the lock here, and get me the fucking okay, and it gets in there, and it gets in. So they just take the key, right? And they then make them just a little bit. This is the janky key that's going to unlock your cells to make you sick. And gives it to your body. And so, undoubtedly, your body goes through the whole immune response that it gets as if it is exposed to COVID for reals. But it's not, because there's no DNA in that. And it can't make you sick. But what then it can do is, or what it does do, and the point of it, and the reason for it is you want, because it's, what happened in COVID is like the immune response is like all hands on deck. Everything was inflamed. Snot's coming everywhere. Airways get infected with other bacteria in it and pneumonia, and you die. And you can't breathe. Like that's got to be the worst kind of death. I can't imagine. Can you imagine? Like, ooh, anybody near? Ooh, that sounds terrible. Okay, so let's avoid that, right? I mean, that's the point. We're supposed to be making all of our lives, but everybody, not just certain people. Like the white nationalists, American, they really think that somehow white people are superior. That is the ultimate motive of my ancestors have used religion as a weapon, to mask their white supremacy and oppression in the South, and it's continuing. And then they just tried to like loop in all these natural hippie people, I guess, that are in the like me. I don't like to take medicines. I don't like to they never seem to. They seem to make me feel worse. They seem to have the opposite effect. Or no effect or whatever. My body doesn't seem to react in the same way, and I would much prefer healing it through natural means of meditation, yoga, exercises, journaling, art, solo dance parties, solo karaoke parties at this point in my life. Play with my dog. It's just... Y'all, all right. Biology lessons done for the day. And this has been unlike any biology lesson I've ever given in my life. Maybe I'll get more views than my last AP biology video of 15 views, but I doubt it. Since I don't have a big audience. But who knows? You never know. Okay, all right. Thanks, y'all. Go fight fascists and, tax the rich. I don't really want to eat the rich. Like, the eat the rich thing is like, I think it's a metaphor, though. This is my autistic brain realizing it's a metaphor. So fucking eat the rich. Bye. This is a hashtag. It's not a gang sign. Hashtag Gen X gone mad, life in full viz. Okay, bye.